Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Brief It, a DC Bar podcast for law students by law students. We thank you for tuning in from all over the United States and across the world. My name is DaJonna Richardson, and today I have my season 5 co-hosts, Furaha Joy Andrew Nettels, and Fabiola Uwera. We are wrapping up our season 5 podcast. We thank you so much for taking this journey with us, and we hope that you will enjoy this last final podcast of season 5.
Hello, everyone. Greetings. My name is Furaha Joy, and I am LLM at Georgetown Law University. And I'm sad that I've come to the end of this particular journey. When I first signed up to do this, I was getting out of my comfort zone because this is not something that I had done before. But it really provided me with an opportunity to highlight the issues that I care about and also to learn about issues that I had never really been familiar with. So it was a very rewarding experience. And also, just as I exit, because I graduate in May, I definitely owe a lot of gratitude and appreciation for all the opportunities that I've had here at Georgetown that I know I would never have received at so many other organizations or institutions. The exposure to so many international opportunities has been amazing. The opportunities that you get to network, to build and enhance your resume, the career building skills, all of that, you get so much more than just a degree. And I think as international student, it makes it so much easier to know that you have this strong supportive network that is with you, not just during your academic journey, but afterwards, that it just doesn't end here. They want you to succeed beyond. And that's why they invest so much in the career aspects of everything that you do. And just a shout out to my professor, Professor Jill Morrison, and the sterling work that she has done in building me up academically. And I think all of us who are part of her program will attest to that. And to any incoming international students, especially from Africa, I would say be as alert as possible and take advantage of every opportunity that comes from here. Network as much as possible. And of course, always strive for the academic excellence because they do everything here to make sure that you achieve both.
Hi, everyone. My name is DaJonna Richardson. I am in my 3L year, and I can say law school has been such a ride as I prepare to graduate in a few short weeks. Something I wish I had known prior to starting law school would have been to always be prepared for that next opportunity. A part of your job search or 1L summer, many law students might have already come in with having had some legal experience or, having worked for like a judge at 1L summer or prior to 1L. And I wish I had taken that summer before I started law school to have either worked for a law firm or an attorney or worked for a judge to sort of have a little bit of background so I could have something on my resume. Even if you don't do that, I think one thing that's really important that I learned while in law school is being open to experiences, to opportunities, networking with people. It's really amazing how far yes can get you, even if it's something that may not necessarily be something where you think you come into law school wanting to do. There are so many other opportunities that can lead you down a path that meshes well with what you want to do. So being open, I think, is really important. Something else I've learned while in law school is take the opportunity to really don't just focus on school. I wish I had done that a little less. Studying is important, networking is important, law review or journal or moot court, all of those things are great experiences. But sometimes the best way that you have to think about self care is taking that time to do something you love or trying out a new activity. I am in law school in Colorado in Boulder, and Colorado is known for being like the outdoor capital of the states. And as such, as part of the university has so many different classes that you can take from rock climbing to learning how to snowshoe to if you want to get your scuba diving certification at a heavily discounted price. That's one of the things I wish I had taken more advantage of. But I will say I have had the opportunity to, hike what they call one of the 14. So it's sort of a mountain to get that like physical exercise in and that mental clarity. I think that's really, really helpful. And it'll help make you a better person while you're in law school. Post law school, as I get ready to wrap up my 3L year, I would say definitely take the time to attend any Access Lex. Access Lex is a website for law students and LLM students. Attend those webinars, look on their website. They have a lot of great information about like what to do about your student loans, bar funding, what should you do as far as your income and what you should spend on rent or if you should buy a car at the same time as you prepare to move into that like associate role. I wish I had taken a little bit more time during my first 2 years of law school to really dive deeper into Access Lex. And so I would just say, as you think about preparing for law school or while you're in law school, really look heavily into resources that are available, programs available to really help you sort of figure out and navigate law school. And I will pass it off to another co host. And thank you so much again. I've really enjoyed this experience.
Hi, my name is Andrew Nettels. I'm a 2L at George Washington University Law School. I've had the pleasure of hosting season 4 as well as this season 5 of the podcast. It has been an absolutely amazing experience. And I'll absolutely echo what DaJonna said about, well, first having a life outside of law school, but also I'm only a 2L, so I don't have the benefit of looking back on the entirety of my law school experience. But I will say something that I wish I knew going into law school is you're going to have many different people telling you many different things about what the law is, what it's supposed to be, legal writing, how you're supposed to do it, how you're not supposed to do it. And I think it's really important to take all these things with a grain of salt. I think keeping yourself open to as many different perspectives and advice as possible is the best way to succeed at law school. I think there's also this idea that at the end of 1L, you have to somewhat know what you're doing, and that's not at all true. I'll say that I'm in my second semester of 2L, and I'm very happy to say that I honestly have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I don't know what part of the law I'd like to venture into after law school. I think it's great to be keeping an open mind. I will say that something DaJonna mentioned, she had wished that she had gotten her scuba diving certification. And that is something I was able to do last summer while in Florida. And I thought it was a great outlet. I moved to Florida last summer to spend time with my grandparents. Grandfather had cancer, and my grandmother very bad progressing Alzheimer's, and I was able to live with them and take care of them, and then commute an hour away into Fort Myers and work there with a judge at the district court. And that was an amazing experience. Although it wasn't exactly what I had pictured going into law school, I thought I was going to perhaps be in a firm or even in a large city, but it was such an amazing experience. And I will forever be able to look back on that summer, not just for the legal experience, but also the time that I was able to spend with my family. And that is something that's so important to me now as my grandmother is having memory issues. So I'll always cherish that. And I would encourage law students listening to this podcast to put family first. The law will always be there, but you need to take care of yourself. That experience in Florida led to me doing a study in New York City experience last semester, where I worked with a district court judge at the Southern District of New York. And this summer, I will be returning to New York to work in the Special Federal Litigation Division at the New York City Law Department. And I would say on that note to law students, follow your gut, follow your instincts. you'll sort of have an idea of what interests you and what doesn't interest you. So I just encourage law students to keep an open mind, and also to the extent that you want to engage in networking activities, do things such as this podcast. I cannot even begin to explain how many times I've gone into interviews, even with panels of judges, and the podcast and scuba diving certification are just the two things that always get discussed in every single interview. And I think that's really important, going back to what I said earlier, pursuing activities and interests outside of the law. Everyone in law school, that entire stack of resumes that the hiring chairs are looking at, everyone has their law degree on there. But what will really make you stand out is those experiences that make you as a person unique outside of the law. I'll pass it off to Fabiola.
My goodness, where do I begin with all the great stuff you guys have been talking about? My name is Uwera Fabiola. I'm also a law student doing technology law and policy LLM at Georgetown University Law Center. It has been a great pleasure and adventure to host this podcast. When I started, I had like an idea of people that I'm going to invite on the podcast, but I ended up being led by passion and the people that I randomly met in my classes. It was a great adventure, and I'm very grateful to the people it connected me with. What I wish I had known before starting this journey, I wish I knew that it's not all about the law. As Andrew said, there's so many things going on apart from the school. So you have to remember that, yes, you're a student, but remember to be also a full, fun family person and talk to your friends, talk to your family, take care of your family. It's also important to take care of yourself, your mental health. I really appreciate Georgetown for having so many activities that center the well-being of the students. We have lawyers in balance. We go there and do coloring and do meditation. There's interpersonal mindfulness. We would meet every Thursday and discuss about how we are doing and read poems. And there I made so many friends that I wouldn't have met in the normal classes, because going to classes, everyone is always running to the next class. Meeting your fellow students in these spaces of mindfulness, we get to connect. So I would encourage students to take advantage of those activities, also join associations. There are so many great associations here. They organize body meetings and bar reviews, or we go to visit museums. So it's really important to remember to also go out there and have some fun. This journey has been really enriching. And as I said, I'm in the technology law and policy, and I was exposed to so many areas of law that I had no idea existed. I would be lying if I knew exactly what I want to do after here, because I have so many interests in so many different things. And I guess I will have to sit and choose what to do in one season and take it easy, one step at a time.
So it seems like most of us made some huge changes for law school, navigating moving to a new city, to either a new country or state. What are some ways that you guys feel helped you to prepare for that? And how did you balance your personal life, your school life, and just even time for yourself?
On my part, I think that there were so many things that were unexpected. I mean, it was my first time to be in the US in summer, you know, and I think nothing actually prepared me for the heat. I don't know what I was expecting, but it really just took me by surprise. I'm glad that I also took care of my health. I got the flu shot. I've never had the flu shot before in my life. I've never thought it was necessary. Yeah, I've just never done it. But I'm glad that I did, because there was definitely a time when I was feeling a bit fluish. And I just sensed in my body that if I had not taken the flu shot, I would have fallen really, really sick. So for me, just in terms of balancing, it's not so easy to do because the work is so intense, but maybe it's also sort of like an individual's adaptation to the intensity. But I was definitely in the beginning extremely overwhelmed. I really struggled. And I would say that it's only kind of now when I'm beginning to have a better balance between the networking and the academics. But there's still so many things that I have not been able to participate in. Like, unfortunately, I could not go and see the cherry blossoms because I was studying. I was balancing so many work related things. That was not something I could do. But I just had to comfort myself and say, there'll be another time.
Just sort of piggybacking on what you said, I ironically have missed the humidity. Colorado is very dry, but I think I would mostly say just taking the time for personal and for self is so hard to do. But one of the things I did was my law school doesn't have Friday classes. And so Friday is meant for you to catch up on your reading or head up to the slopes to ski or visit like wine country or whatever. But Friday would be my time where I took the time to like, reorganize something in my house or focus on like applying for jobs or taking that time to say, you know what, I'm going to just go for a walk or go for a hike or mental clarity or catch up with friends over FaceTime or whatever. And then as far as like maintaining actual physical health, I am very much a vitamin-based person. I often will take a vitamin C or an elderberry. And I found that like if I take that in the morning and I have something small, you can put it in a smoothie or whatever, it's giving me a boost of energy throughout the day. And also, sometimes you don't realize how much vitamin D you can just get from sitting outside in the sun. And so there are days where I might just go and sit in the sun for like 15 or 20 minutes and just bask in like the sun rays. And I think that's really helpful. I am very much like a naturalistic person. So flu shots are not for me. But I have found doing those things, I have rarely been sick. And a part of that I do attribute to trying to just get outside and trying to take like natural remedies, which I think is helpful with building up an immune system. And I am so excited that I had the opportunity. Being in Colorado was on my bucket list. And as a DC native, I don't think that I would have ever been able to do this at any other point in my life. So I am grateful that I had the opportunity to do that. And I'm coming back home this fall. The cherry blossoms are so beautiful. And that's the one thing that I've missed so much. And I will pass it off to another co host.
I'll speak on this really quick. I think for me, what really made my experience seamless was constantly planning ahead of time. I know that being in New York City last semester and being in Florida over the summer, it's constantly finding subletters for my apartment, then looking for places. It's constantly also applying to jobs. I know that in a few weeks from now, I'll be looking into applying for externships for the fall semester. And I think that that's really helped me to succeed is looking for externships months out in advance, as well as figuring out housing. When you're constantly moving around different cities, it can feel like a full-time job and it could sometimes feel like a logistical nightmare. But I think it's really important to do that far out in advance. When I have lived in DC, I've really enjoyed doing things around my apartment. I had a walk-in closet for whatever reason. I did not need one. I hardly have any clothes. So I turned it into a library and put furniture in there. I mean, just fun things like that to reward myself while being a law student. For instance, every time I make pasta, once I'm done, I'll drain out the little pasta marinara jar. I'll wash it out and then I'll drill a hole in the bottom and then I'll turn that into a planter. And I have, I think, like over 25 different plants, live plants in my apartment. So just that has been something to nicely supplement being a law student. It's just also about knowing where you live and being strategic with utilizing resources. At GW, the undergraduate, which the law school is somewhat part of, I was able to utilize a universal DC Metro card and was able to, for this entire semester, to only pay $100 flat rate for all of my travel. And that ended up making it possible for me to commute twice a week to Maryland to work at the U.S. Attorney's Office. So getting strategic about resources like that, thinking outside of the box. Sometimes it's difficult to be creative in law school. I know that, you can be creative through different sorts of argumentation and logic, but having outlets for non-legal creativity, I think, is just so important, especially for me, as I like to try and be a creative person. So that has really helped my experience.
I also consider myself a creative person, and I had never thought that papers could be like a creative adventure. So I've loved the fact that we could have to write papers instead of sitting for exams. So, like finding a topic, going through the honeymoon phase of researching and finding ideas to write about it has been really interesting and fun for me. And as Furaha said, Professor Jill Morrison, who is the director of our program, Leadership and Advocacy for Women in Africa, she's really great at helping us becoming better writers. The skills we got throughout the program has been helpful even in other classes. So I am very grateful that after here, I will come out as a good writer. And about what others said about taking care of ourselves, Furaha said that she missed the cherry blossoms because she had work. I also had a lot of stuff to get done with my externship, but I had to take a metro and went to work at the cherry blossoms place. So I was seated and I had earphones in my ears and I was on a meeting. But I was like, I'm not missing this. I'm going either way. So it, it's really intense. The program is really intense that sometimes we don't get time to
These are things we love.
yeah. I would encourage everyone to have like a schedule. I mean, take care of the time management part. Like, do your schedule, your to-do list, and make sure that you leave some room for you and the fun stuff that you would like to see around. And go take a meeting in a cafe or go study in a museum. Then during your break time, you go see around. It has to be done.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. It has been an absolute pleasure to be working on this podcast with all of you. And especially thank you, Jessica Harris and the DC Bar communities. We couldn't have done this without you, and we really appreciate it. And we encourage all of our listeners not only to tune back into season 6 in the fall, but also to apply to be a co-host. I might be biased, but I would say it's an absolutely amazing opportunity. And thank you to everyone for listening today.
The DC Bar law student community strives to engage and support law students before you graduate and expose you to the tangible benefits of joining the DC Bar and DC Bar communities. Curated programming allows law students to participate in leadership trainings, substantive content programming, networking with practicing attorneys in fields of interest, writing opportunities, and other activities designed to expand your legal education beyond the classroom. Make an investment in your legal career by joining the law student community. To learn more, visit us at www.dcbar.org or email communities@dcbar.org.